Who's up? Who's down?
Ted, who's your up for this week?
I'm going with Bill Belichick. He seems to have found a second life already as an NFL analyst. Terrific performance during the draft, especially his coverage with the Pat McAfee show. Really broke down in detail not just the players that were being drafted, but what teams were seeing from them. Seems like that guy would have a pretty good opportunity to make a living as a broadcaster if he wasn't already so successful as a coach.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a great get for ESPN. I'm very curious to see what Belichick does this season and whether he parlays that into a longer media career or whether he goes back into coaching. And that gets me to my up for this week, and it's the other half of that Art of Coaching documentary that was out a couple of years ago. I'm talking about Nick Saban. I thought he also performed incredibly well on the College Game Day and on the ABC portion of the NFL Draft telecast, and I think he's going to be a really strong ad for College Game Day this fall. He looked relaxed. He looked like somebody who's kind of just enjoying having this new role, finally done with coaching, and I think he's going to bring a lot of perspective and I think bring eyeballs to that show come the fall. Ted, who is your down for this week?
So my down isn't necessarily tied specifically to this week, but it's more about in general, and that's WFAN and the decision that they have to make coming up about how to handle replacing legendary Yankees play-by-play announcer John Sterling. They've settled on two guys in the interim, Justin Shackle and Emmanuel Berbari, both of whom have been heard on pre- and post-game shows. They've stepped in and Sterling announced his retirement effective immediately a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, neither of those guys have the connection with the fan base that Sterling did, who was with the Yankees since 1989. But this is one of the premium jobs in all of sports broadcasting, and WFAN, being one of the biggest networks and certainly in the biggest market in the country, has an opportunity here to go out and find somebody if they think that's the best way to go, or do they decide to stick with a local broadcast? You can think of these two guys as having essentially 5 more months of a tryout to see whether one of them will wind up getting the job permanently. They both do fine work, but they're stepping into the shoes of trying to replace a legend, and that's never easy to do.
Yeah, WFAN definitely taking that Jeopardy approach, trying to see if Ken Jennings can maybe come out of the blue and take over for Alex Trebek there. My down this week, Ted, are the Portland Trailblazers. And why? They saw a 60% audience drop-off on Root Sports Northwest during the regular season. And it just shows you how important Dame Lillard was to that team, how much of a magnet he was for fans there. Scoot Henderson, who they took number 3 overall, definitely didn't fill that void, didn't have the star power of obviously like a Victor Wembanyama. But the Trailblazers finished dead last in the West. The Spurs, actually only one spot ahead of them, but on their RSN, with Wembanyama in the fold, they were up 60%. So it just shows you how important getting a generational talent like that in Wembanyama can be. So I want to see what are the Trailblazers going to do to really bring that audience back to Portland.
Well, it probably doesn't hurt that Victor Wembanyama lived up to the hype as soon as he got there, and he finished his rookie season averaging more than 20 points a game, more than 10 rebounds a game, more than 3 blocks a game. We're talking about a generational superstar that happens to have landed in San Antonio. Not the first time we've seen that before. So the trajectory that he's on has given Spurs fans the belief that if they tune in, they're going to see something that they've never seen before, even with that great lineage of big men that they have there that had David Robinson and Tim Duncan. Wembanyama is a totally different player altogether, and it makes their fans think, I need to watch this guy. I need to see what amazing things he's going to do each game. Maybe Scoot Henderson will get there one day for Portland, and maybe we will talk about him one day as being an heir apparent to Damian Lillard. But for now, the must-see TV is in San Antonio, and if they ever build a team around him, then the Spurs and their fans and their RSN are going to be extremely happy.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Wembanyama on Christmas Day and then into the playoffs in the coming years. Something you're going to be paying attention, I'm sure, a lot to.